to Terror in Tandem, a podcast about finding entertainment in the macabre, hosted by the knowledgeable and lovable Laura and Richard Mathiasen. Each episode, we discuss the horror genre, from books to film to TV and beyond. Sometimes even from beyond. You can find us on YouTube at Terror in Tandem, on Instagram at Terror in Tandem, and you'll always find our latest episode on our website, terrorintandem.com.
Hello, bonjour, bienvenidos.
Yes, welcome.
Hola.
Shit. Oh, sorry.
That's rude.
Curses.
Right.
Zoons. By Christ's wounds.
Is that what? I thought it was zounds.
I mean, I have always pronounced it zoons because it is a contraction of by Christ's wounds. So,
it is?
Yes.
Why Z?
By Christ's wounds.
Yeah, why Z?
Because it's the sound of zwoons, and then it just gets shortened to zoons.
Is it like Jesus was like, oh,
my wounds.
My wounds.
Oh, my fucking
my
wounds.
Zoons.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be like the F word to say zoons. I think it's fine. I've heard it both ways.
Zounds is what I've said.
I've said zoons.
And that's what it is? By Christ's wounds?
That is that is what the zounds is a contraction of. By Christ's wounds. By the suppurating, bleeding gash in the side of my Messiah.
All right. That's a bit much for people.
It's the same thing. Wow.
I need to look this up.
Okay, so God's wounds, Christ's wounds, by his wounds. It's pronounced zounds and zoons. Zoons and zounds, everyone.
I had no idea that's what that meant.
For the millions of people that listen to this each week, and the large percentage of those people that think about this constantly, you're welcome.
Yeah, we love to clear up all of the curses of the world, which we are going to be talking about today. Insert words.
Okay. So what are we doing today, co-host?
I just said it.
We're doing an episode on curses, everybody. Now, I know we did an episode previously on cursed objects.
Yeah.
But that was very specifically a thing imbued with a curse. Now, we are broadening that out because, let me tell you something.
Now we're doing cursed curses.
Doesn't have to be just an object that's cursed. It can be any number of other stuff.
Yeah.
And we'll describe a little bit more what we mean by that in our examples. But you know what? As we like to do each episode, let's check in for a second.
Yeah.
Folks, how you doing out there?
Is everybody uncursed?
Everybody feeling like maybe they are living an unbreakable curse right now?
It's okay. Well, we're going to give you lots of stuff to distract yourself with.
And let me tell you something. There is a reason for that. Way back when your great-grandpa did something unspeakable.
Yeah.
And now you are paying for it.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Way
know
to
what
go,
I'm talking
everybody.
about.
Way to go.
Yeah.
No, but we are going to talk about curses today. And it's going to be a great distraction, as all of our podcasts are.
Wonderful escapist content.
I wanted to talk about, since we're going to talk about curses, I wanted to talk about some movies that are said to have been cursed.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay, good.
I might throw one or two things in there just for fun.
Yeah. Well, my first example is Poltergeist. And
why did something happen?
Yeah, following its production, many people believe that the film was cursed because co-stars Heather O'Rourke and Dominic Dunn, who played sisters, both had untimely deaths. O'Rourke had a medical misdiagnosis, and Dunn was murdered by her ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, that was fucked up.
Yeah.
I mean,
I remember when that happened.
Heather O'Rourke died, I think, after filming, but before Poltergeist 3 was released.
Right after.
She may have died before the movie came out.
Yeah.
But I know that really overshadowed the release of the movie, as it, rightfully so.
And then two other cast members, Julian Beck and Will Sampson, passed away soon after filming.
Oh, yeah. Julian Beck quite famously filmed his scenes as the preacher in Poltergeist 2 while dying of cancer, and he was quite vocal about having the camera capture all of that, because he was like, this is perfect for my character. I mean, goddamn, that's dedication to the craft, my friend.
And we've brought this up before, but when filming, Jo Beth Williams said that the director used human skeletons on set.
Yes, right. So when they're sloshing around in that body water, that is body water.
Also, she felt like that really gave her a lot of bad karma in her life, like bad.
Sure.
Bad mojo.
Oh, yeah.
Swimming around dead skeletons.
Yeah.
Without her knowledge, but still doing it.
Oh, see, that's the thing, without her knowledge, because I do that all the time intentionally, and I've never felt anything but refreshed afterwards.
Your buddy Ty West, the Innkeepers, was inspired after visiting the Yankee Peddler Inn in Torrington, Connecticut. The crew stayed at the hotel, which was already rumored to be haunted, and then they noticed a lot of weird, strange things happening. Ty West said that he's a skeptic and he doesn't really buy into like haunted objects and haunted places. But he said he definitely saw doors close by themselves and TVs turn on and off by themselves and lights always burning out in his room. He also said that everybody in the crew had lots of vivid dreams while they were staying there and filming the film.
Yeah, I mean, I wish he had put more of that in the movie, to be honest. The Innkeepers was not my favorite Ty West movie, but it's it's fine. I've never been to that place. You and I went to a haunted
allegedly
place once, and it turned out
we might have gotten COVID.
No,
there.
the scariest thing there was absolutely the people who ran the place. It was 100%.
And they weren't trying to be scary. They were just wildly
scary.
Yeah, strange.
Yeah, and it was not haunted. It was just like they bought a bunch of stuff at Goodwill and threw it in there and was like, look.
Yeah, they had a gumball machine on the second floor of a very slanted, like, second floor.
Yeah, with like a loose catch on it.
And they all the people would be like, oh, I had gumballs rolling around on the ground.
Yeah.
Come on.
From like a half-broken gumball machine on a slanted, old-timey wooden floor.
It's easy for the proprietors of a quote-unquote haunted inn to make people think that things turn off and on by themselves.
My favorite was the room they had set aside that was all dolls, but they were just all like modern dolls, like Cabbage Patch Kids or like Raggedy Ann, just from like Goodwill, just bought in bulk.
The room we stayed in?
It wasn't like they were old creepy Annabelles or some shit. It was just random fucking dolls that they bought like in bulk.
Sometimes a lot of dolls are scary on their own. It doesn't mean they're haunted.
No, but like they didn't even arrange them weirdly to stare at you. It was just they were in a pile. Yeah. Anyway, this place wasn't great.
Annabelle is my next example. John Leonetti, who directed Annabelle, said that he, when they shot this part of the film, they used this old apartment building in Koreatown, and he said that he saw 3 fingers drawn through the dust multiple times in multiple places, which is significant because Annabelle had the same number of fingers on each hand.
Yeah. I think we should mention that the second camera operator on that film was known. His name is Keith Dusty Fingers McGuire.
No, 3 Fingers McGuire.
Yeah. So I don't know. Your mileage may vary. Look, I think when you're shooting a horror movie, it's not the worst idea in an interview to go, oh yeah, a bunch of shit happened and it was cursed.
There was also another.
Because like Annabelle, come on, that's such a. Who cares if that movie's cursed? Like, has anyone seen it?
Well, there was also another incident
I know people have
where
seen
the
it.
other actor playing the demon was hit by a falling light fixture in the same hallway where the demon kills the janitor in the script.
Oh my God.
So it's some light fixture, Grip was really pissed about this movie being made. That's what I think. And then my last example is Antrim,
the deadliest movie ever made. So I was actually going to bring that up when you started this whole thing because that's an interesting case.
Yeah, it's the whole film, the curse is built into the concept of the film.
Yeah, so this movie is not cursed. What Antrim, it came out a few years ago, and it's okay.
It's like a mockumentary.
I thought the final product was was mixed, but the idea behind it is really cool. So it's that there's this movie called Antrim that is cursed, and the film that you're watching is part a documentary about the first time and only time Antrim was ever screened. It like caused a fire in the theater, and all these people died. And then part of the movie is the lost movie Antrim, this fictitious cursed film.
Which is supposed to be the only print.
Yeah, and that is honestly pretty cool. It's like really, it's very strange. It's very low budget, and it you do get the sense that you're watching something wrong. It's an interesting little movie that I don't know where you can find it now. I had to really hunt it down a few years ago. But I liked Antrim. It's like it's a curiosity.
Well, it's not so much like a cursed film, but it's what it would be like to watch. Why I included it is what it would be like to watch a cursed film, because that's the whole conceit of the film, and it describes kind of the lore around the movie from the 70s, and like I said, the only cut of the film, and was mysteriously altered by a third party that nobody really knows about.
Yeah, that's the thing is this. It's not the most accessible movie because it really helps if you have read a lot of the marketing stuff before seeing this movie. Then you buy into like the sort of game that this is like, oh, this is the thing, you know. It's very meta.
And it's
like,
supposed to have like a negative effect while you're watching it and have mind-altering effects.
I wouldn't say that, but like I said, there is a sort of indescribable feeling that you get when you're watching the movie that you're like, it's grimy. You feel like you're watching something that might be cursed. And I don't know if that's the power of suggestion or the sort of grindhouse feel of the movie itself, but yeah, it's kind of neat. It reminded me of when the Blair Witch Project came out.
Yeah.
I legit saw that movie with a group of friends, most of whom, up until the moment the movie was like going, thought it was real.
Me too.
Because that's the way they marketed it.
I didn't think it was real. I didn't know if it was real or not.
Yeah.
So like,
I think some people were like, maybe not. But the conceit was that, no, they really found these tapes from dead kids, you know, and we're going to show it to the public. So Antrim, you know, definitely follows in that tradition.
yeah.
Speaking of which, they've been in the news lately, the original Blair Witch cast, for being, you know, fucked out of their careers and money. And don't do that, folks.
That's terrible.
Don't make a genre-defining movie with young independent filmmakers and then steal the IP and screw them over.
Yeah.
That's mean. Anyway.
Well, if it didn't do so well, it probably wouldn't have been.
So,
Stolen, you know what I mean?
I wanted to talk really briefly. I absolutely do not, but I'm moving on.
If it wasn't so successful, there wouldn't be anything to steal. So that's why it was stolen.
I think that's usually how theft works. When you steal things, you want it to be, you know, like worth stealing.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to sleep over here.
I wanted to talk real quick about the first ever curse. I mean, according to Judeo-Christian fact and law, all of which is literal, the first ever curse was placed on the first ever people by God, their creator. So here's the deal. When God made Adam and Eve, he said, hey, hang out in this perfect garden, but do not eat this apple because it will make you know things. And I would prefer it if the two of you just stayed naked and stupid. So they ate the apple, and God cursed them and the ground they walked on and their children and humanity for, you know, eating the apple. So it was like he made humans knowing that we do things, and then we did it immediately, like within like minutes of being created. Eve is chomping on that apple, and then God's like, how could I see this coming? I'm an all-knowing God who sees the future and all reality. I curse thee. And it's like, was God a boomer? Because I don't know. Anyway, the first ever curse, I thought that was kind of neat, was put on us by our dad moments after he made us. Thanks. Cursing the ground you walk on.
Yeah.
So that's where it comes from. But I've noticed that what I've been able to find in my extensive research into this topic, we're talking about curse words. The oldest curse word agreed upon in the English language is fart.
Oh, really?
Yeah, first popped up around the mid 13th century from the Old English feortan, which also meant flatulence. So yeah, I mean, listen, it's been happening for a long time. We've had a word for it for as long as that.
And that's so not even a swear at this point.
No, I mean there were definitely curse words in like Latin and Mesopotamian and all that shit, but this was the first English curse, fert.
Well, what makes a curse a curse?
Are you talking like curse word, like a swear word, or
no? Because we're talking about curses.
Well, yeah,
here,
I mean,
not curse
I'd
words.
say there's like a couple of defining things. One is it has to be enacted, it has to be cast or conjured or created. It's not something that happens naturally. It's by nature an act of malice. Someone has to go through certain procedures or rituals or steps to put it on you. So it's usually within the genre of vengeance for some perceived or real injustice. And the other thing is
it's definitely used to inflict harm.
It's like supernatural poison because there's almost always an antidote to the curse. There's a way to dispel the curse, to break the curse, to disperse it, whatever. And that's usually as like complicated, if not more, than the casting of it.
Yeah,
so
because it's not even because you want to rid yourself of the curse doesn't mean the curse fails to exist anymore.
It's something that has existed in human behavior and the imagination for as long as we've existed. We've believed in, karma and curses and luck and fate. They're all kind of iterations of the same thing, that there are supernatural or cosmic consequences to things. Sometimes they're deserved, sometimes they're not, but there are forces of judgment and punishment that exist on a metaphysical level. That's basically it. So, a curse is something that is cast upon something or someone for a malicious reason. And it is something that is contracted like a poison or a disease, and something that has to be cured, basically. And that's not always possible.
Transferred.
Or transmitted. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get into our examples. Why don't you start?
Sure. So my first example, I was going to go with, this actually really came up because I just finished this book. And I want to talk about it. Now, I don't know if I'm stretching the definition a little bit, but I'm going for it anyway. I'm talking about the novel The Croning from 2012, written by Laird Barron. Now, Laird Barron is a big name in the world of weird fiction.
It's a weird name in the world of big fiction.
Absolutely. So it is. He's written a couple of short story collections, and this was his debut novel. He's an interesting guy. He's like from Alaska, lives in upstate New York, and based on the jacket cover and all the pictures I could find, he's got a big black eye patch, kind of like Snake Plissken. He looks like a character that like Hideo Kojima would have made up.
He looks like his name.
Yeah. Anyway, The Croning is an interesting novel. It reminded me of the experience of watching David Lynch's Mulholland Drive, because for a lot of the book, I didn't quite understand necessarily the perspective through which I was getting the information, like the narrator, and the narrator is very unreliable. So that when that becomes much more apparent, certain stylistic choices made sense to me, but it made sense to me after the fact. And by that, I mean, there were parts of the book that weren't necessarily enjoyable to read through until after I was done and I realized what was happening. So it's an interesting experience, but I will say that ever since I finished it, I can't stop thinking about it. Mm-hmm. So in The Croning, we follow Donald Miller, who it kind of takes place throughout this guy's adult life, but in the present, he is 80 years old, and he's married to Michelle Mock. And now the two of them are adventurers. He's a geologist. She studies like ancient civilizations and lost cultures and things like that. But Donald has had a lot of weird encounters throughout his life, and we visit these in flashback. But his memory is like Swiss cheese, or just large parts of his life he can't remember. And this is presented at first as, an old man suffering from maybe the early stages of dementia. And then you find out that parts of his memory have been taken from him. And he starts to just uncover, in very like H.P. Lovecraft fashion, a huge sweeping, thing with cosmic beings and ancient gods. And this ties into a larger work of fiction that Laird Barron does in his short stories. But I really can't give anything away because the ending is one of the best ones I've read in a long time, especially the very, very end. It's like 1,000-year tale that follows essentially these two families that, based on something done in myth that turned out to be real, they're all doomed. And just the idea that generation after generation after generation could be manipulated and fucked with and tortured and ruined and driven insane and, desecrated, and like the things that happen to these families are pretty bad. And you just have no idea. You have no idea. In your entire life, you just think, I just have a terrible life, or I'm not lucky. And it's all because someone somewhere long, long time ago did a thing that pissed off a powerful being, and he fucked your whole family for good.
That's usually how curses start.
There's something extremely horrifying about the idea of being born into a curse, living your entire life within that curse, and dying in that curse. Anyway, this book is, I would say, it is not an easy read. There are things that are mentioned quickly that have great significance later on, so you do really have to pay attention. It's a short book, though. It's only like 250 pages or something, but took me a couple of weeks to get through, and I mean that as a compliment. It is deserving of your attention. Laird Barron creates a real sense of dream-like unease in his writing, and that is accomplished, honestly, by an alchemy that I can't quite identify. It's just a quality of his writing that I felt almost like I was being cursed while I was reading it. It's strange. It's very hard, kind of like reading House of Leaves, where it alters your perception slightly, and you're like, what is even, oh my God. But
it sounds like that last movie I just mentioned too.
It's been a while since a book has disturbed me this way. And I really recommend The Croning by Laird Barron. If you're a patient reader and you've got a stomach for the truly horrifying, I give this one a go. Michelle Mock is a terrifying woman.
Yeah. It's probably modeled a little bit after his mom, from what interviews I've read about.
No kidding.
Laird Barron.
I don't know what's that like? Having a scary mother that inspires all of your horror writing?
It's interesting. There's a lot of kind of lore around why he wears the eye patch.
No shit.
Yeah. So,
well, I've only recently started to get into Mr. Barron, and from what I've been learning, he has a lot of famous friends. He's very well regarded within the genre. Paul Tremblay has contributed to this kind of world building that he's done. The Children of Old Leech.
Yeah.
Which plays heavily into The Croning.
Well, I would do a little research on the side about the author himself.
I have been diving, ever since our Cosmic Horror episode, I've been diving into a couple of new authors, new to me anyway, who specialize in weird fiction and cosmic horror. And, it's been scratching an itch for me. I tell you, I admitted in that episode
There's a cream for that. I told you. It's in the medicine cabinet, Oh,
I'm just going to drink raw milk until all of my problems go away.
That cream, you got to use the cream.
The Croning.
Well, my first is a film, not a book. Or should I start with my book since you did? Okay, I'll start with my book.
Oh, this episode is cursed.
And anyone who listens to it, if you don't send us $500 in the next 7 days, you will also be cursed. The address
with
is...
Zunes.
So my first is also a book. Oh, that's interesting.
Wow.
It's from 1984. It's by Stephen King. I'm sorry, everyone. He writes a lot of books.
Is it by Stephen King?
Yeah.
Or is it by maybe
Richard Bachman?
Interesting. Of course, we all know that's the same person.
Yeah, but yes, and you're right. He's dead now.
R.I.P. King.
Bachman.
Bachman.
It's a pen name. It's a fictional character. There's also an author photo that is somebody else named Richard Manuel. Fine, Richard Bachman. I'll go with that. It's written by Richard Bachman, called Thinner. And basically, it's about Billy. He's a kind of a prick lawyer. He's obese. He's a sleaze. And we see him driving across town with his wife. I think her name is Heidi, from what I remember. She is giving him a hand job, and he gets distracted and runs over a Romani woman, killing her. And because he's this like sleazebag lawyer, of course he has all these connections with the police and with judges. And so he greases the palms of all those people to get out of any responsibility for killing this woman. So the woman's father, a character named Lemke, he enacts vengeance. He puts a curse on Billy, and he uses the word thinner. And then Billy begins to lose weight rapidly, no matter how much he eats. And he does eat a lot. And so he starts to think he has cancer. And he discovers later that the judge who cleared him of the charges has been disfigured because he gets scales that grow all over his body.
Yeah.
The policeman who perjured himself to get Billy off has uncontrollable acne. And both men end up committing suicide. So he kind of enlists this former client who's in organized crime to track down Lemke to find out how he can undo this curse. And it all comes down to, you have to make a pie. You have to put your blood in the pie. And you have to have your intended person who you want the curse to transfer to eat the whole pie.
I mean, it's honestly embarrassing that he had to look that up in the first place. Would have thought you just know that as an adult.
So he decides to feed the pie to his wife because he does blame her for,
Yeah.
she's the one that gave the hand job.
Tugging him off when he ran over that old lady.
But and this is what we're going to find out about curses, I think, as a conclusion to this episode is, he falls asleep and wakes up and finds that both his wife and his daughter, who he adores, both ate the pie.
Yep, they sure did.
And so he eats the rest of the pie.
Yeah, why not? Let's just all go down. Classic King ending. I love it.
Classic King ending. Yeah. So just to kind of give you like the overall curse, the curse is Lemke wants vengeance, curses Billy outside the courtroom with the word thinner. And it's really like he's a gypsy. I mean, there's nothing else to say about it. I told you everything.
Yeah, no, the movie versions, got Robert John Burke in it, in a fat suit, which is interesting.
Yeah, the movie is fine if you don't want to read the book, but the book is really
like very
good.
90s, yeah.
Because it does go into how rapidly he loses weight.
And
how much he keeps eating and eating.
That's hard to read. I'm actually reading something right now that's got a similar thing, like a monster that is voraciously hungry, and it's hard to read. The gorging stuff is, that's really good in horror. I tell you, it gets visceral.
Part of what Lemke told Billy was, you can take responsibility.
Yeah.
You can actually own up to what you've done.
Hey, hold on. Can you go over there for a second? Hey, everybody, this is Richard. Just pulling you aside. Just want to, hey, bros out there listening to the pod. That's always an option. That's always an option.
Admit what you've done.
Oh, I didn't know you were listening.
Oh, I'm sorry. You told me to go over there, but
take the headphones off, please. Yeah, you just admit it. Just admit what you've done, and then try to make it right, and then move forward. You don't have to It was always an option. Anyway, thinner.
Yeah.
I will always remember in the movie version, when they curse him, she goes, "You will be thinner."
Yeah.
Which is what my trainer said to me when I started working out. I don't have a trainer. Come on. Anyway, let's go.
I feel like somebody whispers that in my ear every night when I'm asleep. Is it you?
When you wake, you will be on Ozempic.
Oh.
All right. So.
Oh.
Do you want to take a break while you and I go set the record straight about what prescriptions we are and are not on? We're not on.
We're not on any prescriptions,
Yeah,
and this goes for
well,
everybody and the government listening. We don't
Yeah.
take any prescriptions.
Nothing
we're
that-
fine, and we're normal people.
Definitely nothing that would require me to go to a wellness farm.
Nope.
That's for sure.
Not in this household.
I am,
Let's all go take a break.
even keeled. All I need is prayer.
Looking to add some excitement to your Halloween party? Want to add some frights to the night? Well, look no further. Hire Brian. Brian can handle all of your wishes for a hauntingly good time for any style of party you might be hosting. Need a scary clown? Hire Brian. Want a secret stalker to scare trick-or-treaters? Brian is your man. Mad scientist? Scarecrow? Masked monster? Brian is up for all of it. Since completing his stint in a disreputable penitentiary, Brian has been fine-tuning his abilities to morph into what you need him to be, living up to his given nickname on the block, the Chameleon of Chaos. Brian is cheap, sometimes coming into your home for free. Brian will come and go as he pleases, sometimes without your knowledge. How easy is that? Depending on what you need Brian to do, he may add some of his own unique flair. Brian has a way of sticking with you, so tell your friends. We are not responsible for any damage, death, or dismemberment that Brian may or may not cause. Just go with it. Hire Brian. If you don't, he may show up anyway. This is a fake ad for a fake product and a horror-themed podcast. We do not condone nor endorse what Brian does that might be immoral or illegal.
And we're back.
Oh, wow. I didn't even take nearly all my injectables.
Well, hold on. Just take your ivermectin and
No, my injectables.
Yeah.
In my face.
Oh, like your Botoxes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My
Well,
collagen.
my next example is a movie, and it is 2022's very, very good Incantation, which is a Taiwanese horror film from director Kevin Ko. You can watch it on Netflix, and this was a really fun, unexpected movie. I watched it soon after it came out. It just sort of, like Netflix does, they just release things, especially their international stuff. Like last year they released Lumberjack the Monster, the new Takashi Miike movie. Just put it out there, like no forewarning. It's incredible. So anyway, this movie is about a woman named Lee Ronan. Now, 6 years ago, she and her then husband, who is now dead, had like an internet, occult type show, and they visited a village, and well, they fucked around and found out. So husband's dead, and now Lee Ronan is. What this movie is, it's like a video diary, basically. She's, an internet personality, and she's making this video for her 6-year-old daughter, and she's imploring the public to help her lift a curse that is killing her daughter. So she's speaking like directly to the camera in the beginning of the movie, and she is, imploring the listeners, like, please, help me do this ritual. She's like crowdsourcing the cure for this curse. And part of the movie is she does like a repeat after me kind of thing. And yes, audience, sitting alone in my room watching this on Netflix, I absolutely said the words and did the hand stuff. And I'll get to that. So now the movie is told in sort of a nonlinear fashion. You're following Lee as she goes through, more and more desperate measures to lift this curse. She has also been, in the past, she spent time in a mental asylum after she got away from this cursed village where her husband died. She, deals with social workers who are like, because, her daughter is very sick. She's got this curse. It's killing her. She's like super sick. So Child Protective Services think she's a terrible mom. They point to like her weird past. She hooks up with a shaman and like some, spiritual people to like exorcise the demon. Now, there's a twist. Basically, what you end up learning throughout this movie is that the ritual that you have all been participating in as you watch this movie. Now, because this is presented like a video diary from a sort of influencer, there's this feeling as you're watching the movie that you're also participating because she's bringing you along with her and she's filling you in between, like, hey, updating you like you're watching a video diary. So, you begin by repeating the words and you're helping this woman and you get this sense that you're on this journey with this desperate mom to save her kid and you kind of feel good about it. And then you sort of realize because she tells you, what you haven't been hired or you haven't been helping to cure this curse. You've been helping to take it on. So what you can't cure this curse, but what you can do is curse as many people as possible with it. And the more people that carry it, we will all share the burden of the curse, meaning instead of one person getting the whole curse, it's dispersed throughout as many people who have been cursed. So the more people who get it, the less terrible it will be for all of us. But we are all now going to suffer. And by the end of the movie, when you realize that this woman, got you to curse yourself, and she's like, sorry, and you do see like the daughter's doing a lot better, but now everyone that watched it is cursed. It's really quite something. It's an interesting experience. I haven't seen a lot of movies with that kind of audience participation. There was a movie from the 70s called The Beast Must Die about werewolves, and towards the end of Peter Cushing's in it, and towards the end of the movie they actually black out the screen and a narrator tells the audience to try and figure out who the werewolf is. It's like a whodunit. And
that's kind of where the concept for the like table game
you have to
exactly from.
So you have to in the movie theater, the screen went blank and everyone's like talking amongst themselves, and then the movie starts again and they show you who the real werewolf is.
Yeah.
So Incantation had that level of audience participation that I found so fun. I guess it probably would have been a real jazz to see this in a movie theater, even in like Taiwan, to do this with people around, but I did do it alone in my room. Now this was inspired.
And were you the werewolf?
Oh no, that was a different movie. I am cursed with a Taiwanese curse though now.
Oh.
But me and lots of other people.
That can explain a lot. That's why we have no progress in our lives.
Yeah, from Taiwanese curses.
Cool.
So,
how long have you known this? When did this movie come out?
3 years ago.
Oh.
So,
wow, the last 3 years have been really terrible.
I really enjoyed this movie. I do recommend people check it out. And it was.
Did the movie have a way to get out of the curse?
Oh no, we're all there's no like incantation to here's how to undo the boogaloo.
Did you watch the final credits, like after credits? Were there any?
I was looking for a mid-credits antidote, and
did you watch it backwards by any chance?
I mean, they did say at the end, for those of you who are wondering, yes, you are cursed. Yes, this was real. This is a thing now. Welcome to hell. This was, tragically inspired by the tragedy of, I don't know if you remember this. I certainly do. A few years ago, a Taiwanese family were convinced that they were haunted by demons, that the bad luck in their lives was caused by a curse and demons. So they did a lot of rituals and stuff and decided that it was actually just one member of their family, the daughter, that was the cursed one. So they, beat her to death.
Was she cursed? Really? No.
No, she was just a innocent little girl that her insane religious family murdered.
Terrible.
But it did inspire this movie. So, fun when it's fake.
Yeah, it's much more fun.
Incantation 2022.
This has quickly gone from one of the more fun episodes to a terribly depressing, cursed episode.
I would argue I have not been having fun this entire time.
Oh, yeah. I never have fun with you, so
wow.
We're even.
This got real.
Tale of Two Sisters is my movie that I'm recommending or going to talk about.
It's a really good movie.
It's over, it's 2003, so I'm going to be spoiling it. So if you want to watch this movie, you've always meant to, you might want to skip ahead because I will spoil it. So it's written and directed by Kim Ji-woon, who did A Quiet Family, I Saw the Devil, and The Age of Shadows. And the film is about Sumi, and she's a teenager. She's just been released from a mental hospital and's come back home to live with her sister, her dad, and her new stepmother, which nothing's going to go bad. Nothing's going to go wrong. And tensions are like pretty bad between the two girls and their stepmother. And Sumi has these terrible nightmares about her dead mother. And she's tortured by it. So this film is based on a popular Joseon era Korean fairy tale, the story of Janghwa and Hungyeon. I think I'm pronouncing it right. So what happens is, and this is really where the plot twist comes into play, we see that the sister, Soo-yeon, is dead. So she's not actually real. So most of the movie, we're watching this sister come from a mental institution back to her other sister who we think is alive, but is not alive.
Yeah, it's really well done too, because
it's really well done.
I didn't see it coming at all. It's not, I mean, it's Sixth Sense level, like, fakery.
Yeah, Sumi's manifested this because she's so traumatized from what happened that she just needs this kind of constant companion. And Soo-yeon basically represents the only time that Sumi was happy and felt safe. So this is kind of her like security blanket.
So just real quick, because you mentioned the Joseon era of South Korea. So for anyone not familiar with South Korean history, that was basically like their high feudal times. You know, it was about 500 year period of time that began in the late 14th century, and it was, you know, the Kingdom of Korea. You know, so when you see like a lot of the really magnificent period pieces in Korean film, a lot of those are taking place in the Joseon era. Yeah.
And we find out that how her mom died and how her sister dies throughout this film, and how complicit or kind of cowardly the dad was, especially like with a particular piece of furniture that comes into play.
A big old armoire.
Yeah.
No, is that an armoire?
I
or
think it was a
wardrobe.
Wardrobe, yeah. Yes, which is similar.
Yeah.
So the central curse is the haunting presence of the younger sister, Soo-yeon. And now she's a vengeful spirit. And she's then there to torment Sumi and the abusive stepmother. The origin of the curse is basically just the terrible treatment, which leads to her untimely early death. Soo-yeon appears as a ghost and starts to fuck shit up. And the film really explores the idea that the curse can be seen almost as like Sumi's mental degradation, you know, like her mental decline. As we start to see her, you know, she comes back from the mental institution, she has this comfort of her sister being there, and then she starts to really come to grips with reality. She realizes that her sister is dead, and those repressed memories start to come to the surface, and she's like re-traumatized by the ghostly appearance of her sister now. So it's a really well done movie. There's no kind of gypsy or person that puts a curse on somebody. It's actually just what was done to this young girl and her mom. Ultimately, she comes back to curse the family and to curse the people who let this happen to her, because you know, Sumi was shoved in a closet while this was happening, and she didn't do anything to protect her sister. Not likely she could have, but still.
Yeah.
Being held to blame by
Don't shove your kids
a ghostly
in closets,
element.
people.
Yes. So Tale of Two Sisters. Check it out. I think it's really good and scary.
It's a really excellent slow burn.
It's a good interpretation of a cursed film, or of a curse in a film, I should say. Right?
My last example.
I said right?
Absolutely. Is you know, it's interesting how many Southeast Asian and movies that we've chosen because I guess curses are a big thing there. I chose Indonesia's Impedagor, which is a absolute masterpiece of a movie from 2019 from Joko Anwar. Now, just to make it real easy for you, if you ever see the words Joko followed by Anwar in front of a movie, watch that movie. It's gonna be good. Now, I've talked a lot about Indonesian movies on this pod because their resurgence after decades of stagnation as an industry has been spectacular over the last 10, 15 years, but never more so like in the horror genre. It's really been kickstarted by a group of people making horror movies. So Impedagor is, it's, by this point in his career, Anwar's made a bunch of really excellent movies, been around for a while. I would say this is one of his best films. It stars, frequent collaborators, Tara Basro, who's a young woman who, living in Jakarta, she is cursed. Everything sucks. So she goes back to her like tiny little village in Java where she might be from. And that's where frequent Joko Anwar collaborator Aryo Bayu, he played the old like patriarch of this village. Now, for generations, every new child born in this village has been born without skin, which is painful and horrible and gross and scary. So now her name is Maya. She goes back to the village, and it's just kind of like a real cool classic like gothic tale of spurned romance and vengeful, lovers and curses placed on people generations before that still affect. Like, long story short, it was like, lovers and a love triangle and a murder amongst the patriarch of the village. Now, the other thing that plays heavily into this is the artistry of wayang, which is Indonesian shadow puppets. Now, it involves like cutting out very intricate paper puppets and then displaying them behind a screen so that what the audience sees are the shadows. And it's so amazing. It's a very old tradition. It's still practiced to this day. And in this movie, it plays a really big part. And it's so fascinating to watch and get that intro into Indonesian culture. Anyway, long story short, Maya goes back to the village. She really goes through a lot of terrible things. She gets strung up. Her friend is killed. Terrible, awful things happen. And of course, the baby's without skin. It's quite violent and graphic, and it leads to a really crazy ending where, you find out like everything that happened in the past and the curse that's befallen this village. But it's again that idea that like something happened before any of these people were around that is hurting all of them, and it's happening to newborn babies. Like that's quite a curse to afflict newborn babies going forward. I'm going to curse all of your children that aren't even here yet during this thing that made me angry. Yeah,
the most vulnerable people. Let's curse them.
Well, it's a vengeance curse, and it's like a spurned, lovers kind of thing. But the ferocity of it, the absolute maniacal, evil cruelty of a curse like that. No matter how angry or enraged or wronged you are, gosh, it's a lot. So it's one of those movies where it's a bit of a tragedy because even the people who do horrible things in this movie, you're like, I can kind of see where you're maybe coming from there. But I recommend it because, hands down, it's a terrifying, scary movie, but it's a real deep dive into some ancient Indonesian culture and Javanese culture that is, personally, as a Western viewer, I don't see it often. Mm-hmm. So it's a nice opportunity to watch something different. But this is Joko Anwar at the top of his game. And, an entire village with skinless baby curse? That's a rough one.
Yikes.
Yeah, give it a shot. Impedagor. Also on Netflix.
Oh, cool.
Way to go, Netflix.
My last one is just going to be quick because I talk about this film all the time, and it's called It Follows. And we all know what it's about at this point. I just want to kind of focus a little bit on the curse of it.
Don't have sex, kids.
No, do.
Or do.
So this entity is following our main character, and basically taking different forms. And so as the movie progresses, we discover what this is, and it's a curse. And the curse is passed through sexual transmission. So the curse can only be passed through sexual intercourse. And actually, the curse is the cure for the person who is cursed. So you have to pass it on in order to not be cursed. The problem is, if the person you pass it on is killed, then the curse comes back to you.
Yeah, you see that a lot in curse movies like Smile or Incantation or It Follows, where it's like,
Yeah.
you just got to pay this one forward.
Yeah. So, the only way to cure yourself is to have sex with someone else, transferring the curse to them, and then maybe you'll be okay. It could be years until you know whether you're okay or not. So you are never really safe if you've been cursed. And we've, most of the people that get this knowingly are passing it along. So that's what I thought was most compelling about this is ultimately you could still be cursed. Especially you could have sex with hundreds of people and they could all die because the entity is going to come and get that person.
Yeah.
So if the entity kills all of those 100 people, they're gonna come back to get to you. And then the kind of a most brilliant part of the film is the entity is only visible to the person who currently has the curse. No one else can see the entity. So I bring this up and I wanted to talk about this one because there is going to be a sequel, and I'm not always in love with sequels, but this film feels like it could handle a sequel.
Has any sequel ever gone wrong?
I mean, the Smile 2 was great.
Smile 2 was good.
So we've had a lot of time since It Follows came out. I think it came out over a decade ago, right?
Yeah.
So I think it'll be interesting to see where our character, played by Micah Monroe, is at this point. And because the entity can always come back to get you, she might have been busy. Busy passing this curse on to lots of people. Maybe she thinks she's made enough distance to be safe. But the new film, which is currently in pre-production, is called They Follow. So
yeah,
maybe it
Ruh-roh.
Maybe it what happens when a germ gets even more powerful?
Mutates?
Yes.
Ah.
So maybe this curse has mutated.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Now it's like the it's like It Follows Delta.
Well, the working tagline for They Follow is they're everywhere.
Oh god.
So
much sex.
Yeah.
Everybody got all horned up. We had hot, sexy summers.
The old horny slut.
And this is what you get. This is what you get, people.
So I'm hopeful.
Not eating your cornflakes and following the works of Calvin.
I'm hopeful that They Follow will come out in 2025, but I think it's probably more likely 2026 since we're just in pre-production.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, It Follows. My final
folks,
curse in a movie.
We, like so many of you, are fascinated by curses. Curses are one of the oldest forms of horror storytelling. It's really, I mean, they're in the Bible, they're in the Old Testament.
And people do a lot of things to prevent curses from happening to them.
Most
daily.
Of Greek mythology is superstitions are just warding off curses.
Yeah.
It seems to be a deeply ingrained facet of the human experience from our origins to modern times. We are, whether we call it a curse, a superstition, or just a silly old thing that I do, who knows, right? I mean, it's just better to play it safe. We do stuff, you and I.
We have an evil eye on our
very
door.
Skeptical, non-believer type people.
I throw salt over my shoulder
Why
when
the
I
fuck
spill
not?
it.
Listen, doesn't hurt.
You're supposed to maintain eye contact and clink when you clink glasses to cheers.
I always turn each lock 5 times.
That's OCD.
I wash my hands
Again,
constantly. I'm
OCD.
a very clean, good boy, and I'm clean, and I am good and clean, and I am deserving of love and clean and good and clean.
Well, we're getting into a very different aspect. We were
Next
supposed
episode,
to have inoculated ourselves with all kinds of medicines
the
while we took a
horrors
break, but some
of
of
my
us
therapist.
didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, the curse that our therapists have to endure.
We will be having my therapist on next week to talk about the horrors of just my average session.
What I think would be interesting, though, if we did a whole episode on actual curses, like ancient curses and
like real curses.
Yeah.
So, what's wrong with you? Are you out of your mind? Did you not watch any of these examples? That's exactly how they all start. Like, oh, let's go dig up this thing. Uh-oh. Now there's a water demon from...
I still would like to do it.
I would too, honestly.
I think it would be interesting to kind of break away from talking about horror movies and books.
Oh, you want to get maybe into the beyond a little bit more?
And maybe talk a little bit about actual curses that have been experienced by people. Ancient curses that have happened, and, kind of oldest curses and known curses.
We've done books, we've done film, we've done TV.
And now we're doing the occult.
Let's do the beyond. Okay, yeah, we'll work on it.
Yeah, in the future.
Sometime, down the road.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll be doing this for
I'm
many
honestly
years.
I'm getting right on it.
I'll be like, oh, you got to turn the levels up on my oxygen. We're going to talk about elder care as a form of horror.
Ugh.
On our next Terror in Tandem.
Bye, everybody. Terror in Tandem is written, produced, and recorded by Laura and Richard Mathiasen, and edited and mixed by Richard Mathiasen. Our theme was written and performed by Carrie Denver, and all other music was written and performed by David Suspanic. All opinions expressed on this podcast are our own and should be taken as such. Thanks for listening, and please remember to give us a like, a review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. We're standing